Hi, welcome to the 23rd session of our discussion of how the Frankfurt School governance model has become the dominant model influencing our governance choices in the United States a quarter of the way into the 21st century. For the past 3 sessions, we have been discussing my third of 4 tenets of the Frankfurt School governance model: reject religion as oppressive. In earlier sessions on this topic, we discussed the long and dated violent history of Christianity in Europe and European colonies as a potential cause for the decline in organized religious attendance and activity. You may recall, however, that I concluded that because of the ancient nature of that violence, while it had direct impact on liberalism and our Constitution's separation of church and state, I do not find it a compelling reason for the decline we have witnessed over the past 50 years. As we have in our discussion of earlier tenets, reject science and reject virtues, I have postulated some more contemporary reasons, and my top 4 of those more contemporary possible reasons for the general decline in organized religious attendance and activity, moving us in the direction of the Frankfurt School rejection of organized religion as oppressive, are: first, we are increasingly rejecting community. Second, the stratification and public disagreements between different religious groups makes participation in any of those groups more and more undesirable. Third, organized religion's difficulty adapting to social changes and scientific discoveries, compounded by more contemporary acts of violence, either condoned or overlooked by organized religions, I think has left many wondering what the benefit of organized religious activity is versus an individual's independent pursuit of spirituality and just being a good person. Now, a corollary may be that this compound cause also reflects that Christians who have moved to non-denominational evangelical organized religion activities are simply rejecting social change and emerging science on religious grounds. And 4, finally, atheism has had some very strong and compelling spokespeople who have, in our more open and tolerant society since World War II, had greater opportunity to preach and organize their religion than ever before. Let's discuss the first of these hypothetical reasons more deeply. When we talked about how we increasingly view science as oppressive, we commented that regarding trust of science, scientists, and the scientific process, we had to consider our own human nature. See, science has always had to battle our intuition and our self-interest. While science and scientists have been at the forefront of the tremendous changes that we have seen positively and negatively affecting human existence, a motivation for our acceptance of science and government policies based on science has been our willingness to subordinate our self-interest to the needs of our communities. For generations, this was true, and science was trusted despite nonlinear existence, conflation of science with technology, engineering, statistics, occasional science for profit experiences, negative experiences, and scientists as policymakers. That willingness to subordinate self-interest to community interest has worn thin, as partially evidenced by our increasing view of science as oppressive. Similarly, when we discussed virtues, I commented that my conclusion has been that our view of our own behavior behaviors and intentions, whether we see them as moral or immoral, are increasingly motivated primarily by our own self-interest, whereas everything written about morality and virtues has been focused on defining behaviors and intentions that best serve our communities. See, as we have increasingly demanded that our own self-interest be our highest priorities, we are tacitly declaring our disdain for the primacy of community. And this simply reflects that we are increasingly rejecting community. Since organized religion has historically been a primary source of social networks and community, it stands to reason that as we disengage from community to appease our own self-interests, we are likewise disengaging from the community of organized religion. Our individual demand for rights and freedoms and individuality are instrumentally aligned to the profound decline in participation in organized religious activities, our increasing rejection of science, and our increasing view of virtue as oppressive. We'll talk more in session 24 as we probe the impact of differences between religious groups. Aloha.